What is going on YouTube? It is your boy APFC for all things Arsenal, but not exclusively. So, we are going to discuss the Palace vs Arsenal game. That was on 11:30 p.m. my time last night. I'm from Sydney, Australia. Big up any Australian viewers. And just wanted to discuss the game. It was definitely a game of two halves. First 15, brilliant. In complete control of the game. We were suffocating them completely. Someone like having Torreira in his natural position completely changes the whole dynamic of this team. You would have seen under Emery, he was playing as a box-to-box or as an attacking midfielder, which was baffling at times for a lot of Arsenal fans. Having him screen the defence made all the difference in the first half. You would have noticed when we had the ball, when we didn't have the ball, Xhaka would be moving out to each wing to connect with the right and the left backs with Maitland-Niles and Kolasinac and connect with the wingers, play some 1-2s, hold the ball a little bit better. They would have David Luiz in the middle. I'll get more to him shortly, who was playing the long balls. And you have Torreira screening the defence. Because we were playing a high line, because now Arteta has made our forwards press, which I'll get to Lacazette and it shortly as well, we can suffocate teams. Something that we haven't seen, well, I haven't seen, I don't even know how long. It wasn't happening under Wenger either, towards the end of the Wenger era anyway. So it's very positive to see some of the improvements that have been made. So back to what I was saying. First half, we were suffocating them. Torreira screening. We had Lacazette pressing very high. We had Ozil and Aubameyang also pressing with Nicolas Pepe. We didn't really let them get into the game, and we got that first goal, which I think it may have been it was either Luiz or Socrates who played it through to Ozil. Ozil did a lovely little touch off to Lacazette first time, and Lacazette played a very good through ball. And from what you'd expect by Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, he will score in those positions almost 10 times out of 10. His first touch is what separated him there from the defender. It was an excellent first touch, and let's be real, when he's in those sort of positions, he never looks like missing. 1-0 up, 15 minutes in, everything going to plan. I think I remember a possession stat from the end of the half. We were having about 70% of possession. Everything was going to plan. Second half, well, let's not get to the second half yet. End of the first half, slowly start to lose momentum. What I've noticed with Arsenal, and this is going to take a long time to fix, because concentration has been one of our biggest issues as a football club in the last 3 to 4 years. We can't maintain concentration. Some games we don't even concentrate at all when we lose to lesser sides at home or away. I can see that Arteta is trying to implement a new team mentality in regards to concentration, controlling the game, being aggressive off the ball, being aggressive on the ball. And at parts of these games with Arteta, we're seeing it. We're definitely seeing this happening. However, old habits die hard. And that is something that will need to change over time. You can't expect us to concentrate for long periods of the game all the time right now, because simply it was not happening at all before. Arsenal, our concentration slipped. We let Palace back into the game. There was not one Palace player in the first half, aside from Kouyaté, that was doing anything worthwhile. Zaha, I personally had to ask the people I was watching with if he was playing. Didn't even notice until maybe the 35th, 40th minute when he touched the ball. Maitland-Niles kept him quiet. I'll get to player ratings after summarising the game. We let them back in the game. It goes to 1-0 at half-time. You're thinking at this stage, okay, very good. Could have got a second, but with the way that we're defending, and the way that our midfield have everything under control defensively, something that I've criticised a lot in the past. We should have this game covered. We're letting them get back in the game, but they're not really creating any clear-cut chances. Leno's virtually been a passenger, no problem. The second half comes around and you see, the subs bench and whatnot, and you see Guendouzi. Guendouzi is so I'll just move the camera for a bit. Guendouzi is coming on for Torreira. Now, Torreira was by far man of the match in the first half, by a country mile. The tenacity that he shows when he's on form, the tackles that he wins, his agility for 10-meter sprints, for interceptions, or to pressure the midfielder who may have his back to our defence, Torreira is always there. And when you play him in his natural position, you see what he truly adds to our side. So when we lost him for the second half, I know he went up for that header. I think it was with Pepe and Goyeta, the Palace goalkeeper. I think they went up for it, or maybe I could be wrong, but Pepe definitely went up for a header. They both fell. Torreira fell on his back. He had to go off injured. This changed the game for me. I said in my previous video, Guendouzi, a player with so much potential. But regarding Torreira's role and regarding Xhaka's role, he is not good enough to replace either of them in those positions as a defensive lying midfielder or as like a box-to-box or deep-lying playmaker, which Xhaka is. Doesn't have those attributes to replace either of them. And you saw that. As Guendouzi came on the field, the midfield structure was starting to become unbalanced again. We were giving them more space. Their midfielders were bombing forward into our defensive third. We had Guendouzi out of position, which meant that Xhaka was coming across, who I thought positionally was very good throughout the game. He was coming across. There was all this space open in the midfield. They weren't going out wide. They weren't threatening us out wide because Maitland-Niles and Kolasinac had it all under control. It was through the centre of the park. Yes, the start of their goal, which came in the 55th minute or so, they did come out wide, but generally speaking, that was one of the most scrappy goals I've seen. And no, I'm not salty. I will criticise us when we concede a shit goal. But that was a scrappy goal. The one criticism maybe is that we didn't really press. I can't remember who had the shot. I honestly can't remember. I was really annoyed at that point. But when the shot was taken, I think it might have been IU actually. When the shot was taken, David Luiz maybe shouldn't have put his foot out like that because you're always prone for a deflection. But at the same time, it's a really, really unlucky deflection. Perhaps we should have closed him down quicker in the box. Xhaka did go in for the tackle, but interestingly with Xhaka at that point, he pulled back, and that is showing a new awareness. Xhaka's understanding more awareness to his game, which I will get onto him in a second. But he pulled back, and it ultimately led to the goal. Okay. Back to my point about the concentration. We can concentrate for certain periods of the game. Parts of the game we can completely control the game, like the first 25 to 30 minutes, and then we just switch off. It's a mentality thing that Arteta will have to build over time based off the lack of mentality we have had under Emery and Wenger. And this showed because once we conceded the goal, we went back to controlling the game for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. We were passing the ball. Some of the biggest strengths that I noticed is the reason why we got our first goal is that for the first 10-15, we were moving the ball around from side to side very quickly, opening up the midfield. Ultimately, we found some space in the middle, played the pass through, Aubameyang got played through by Lacazette, goal. This is what we have been doing very well. This is what we did very well against Chelsea. This is what we did very well against Man United. We moved the ball from side to side. We moved it quick. Unlike previous managers where we were just playing sideways, backwards, we were playing sideways, but always looking for that intent of playing it forward. And we did it for 5 to 10. This time, however, it was a red card that changed the game. Now, at first when I saw it, I thought it's probably a red card, and it's hard to say. I still think in some respects it was, but I just watched the highlights back again before doing this video. Aubameyang, he reached out to it, but he wasn't really looking at the ball. He reached out to it, and he just sort of threw his foot out, and ultimately he mistimed it very poorly, and I think it was Maximilian Meyer. I've had ankle injuries. I cringed when it happened. He could have done it. He could have done ligaments. It looked like if he went in with more force, he could have completely broken his ankle. I know he's injured. I don't know his diagnosis, but it wasn't great viewing. It's a tough one. I think we can be frustrated it was given a red, but at the same time, we also can't complain either, simply because it really goes down to interpretation. It's that much for me of a 50-50. It is what it is. I think in some respects you could call it unlucky. I've seen other people call Aubameyang silly for going in for tackles like that, but really he was reaching for the ball. How often do you see Aubameyang do those sort of tackles? And I'm not defending him. Maybe he should have been a little bit more careful, but at the same time, you don't really see that from Aubameyang at all. So he gets the red. Whichever way you think of it, it could go either way. It's a red card. And that's that. He gets sent off, and we go back to, having to defend. We had moments of attacking. We had some bright moments moving the ball forward, but it looked like there was so many players gassed in the second half. Lacazette, I saw him on his haunches in the 55th, 60th minute. Ozil was knackered. Pepe was knackered. And it sort of shows the level of fitness we had previously, or we still have, when Emery took pre-season, because Arteta wants to play a high-intensity system. Clearly, it could be a winning system. But the players, although they are doing it for parts of the game, we're either not fit enough physically or perhaps even mentally. Going back to the point about the concentration, they do go hand in hand, though. When you are exhausted, you do lose concentration. I almost forgot my train of thought there. Yeah, we lost concentration and we were just knackered. That's what I was saying. The players were exhausted. Lacazette on his haunches, very tired. And at that point, it became damage control. Socrates made that off-the-line clearance. That could have been a goal. From there, we just had to hold back. Guendouzi, who I thought started the half poorly, ended up playing a lot better towards the end of the second half. We missed Torreira, though, and it was ultimately damage control. We had that massive chance at the end where I thought that was a very good shot from Pepe. Those shots are difficult to pull off. He hit it perfectly in the right angle, but the keeper made the save. And Lacazette for the follow-up. Guaita was more or less in the right position just to throw his hands out and dive at it, and made two pretty good saves. And that's that. But by that point, it got to the 75th minute, 80th minute where, I was watching the game and I was like, I'll take a point here. I don't care. I think we needed this win, but from the circumstances, I'll take a point. And we move forward from there. What I would describe the performance as a work in progress. You're seeing some real positive elements of Arteta's system come to fruition, but the players are not up to being consistent with this new system throughout the whole game, physically and mentally. If I was to summarize that game, it would be just that. That is how I would summarize the game. A work in progress for me. Now, let's get to player ratings. Leno. I thought today with his feet, he was a lot better. I think generally speaking, playing it out the back, we've improved 3 or 4 times the amount. Funnily, or ironically enough, this was Emery's sort of idea, was the playing out the back, and we're doing it already better under Arteta than we did it under Emery. The whole time Emery was manager. So I thought he was quite good with his feet. Other than that, he didn't have really anything to do. There was a shot in the first half that sort of went straight to him. The goal, can't blame him for it. One of the biggest deflections I've seen for a goal. It is what it is. Leno, for me, simply because he didn't do much, but what he did well was decent. I'll give him a 6. Let's go with Kolasinac. Kolasinac was one of the outstanding performances of the game. Maybe not outstanding, but he was one of the players that made a massive impact, particularly the first half, I thought, going forward. Second half defensively, he was pretty good as well. A frustration that I had with Kolasinac is going forward, he's been brilliant. He was brilliant under Emery, but going back, he was tragic. Virtually either he wasn't fit enough or he couldn't be bothered, but that's what I noticed with him. I assume that was one of the reasons we signed Tierney, because why would we go sign Tierney to replace, at one point, the best left back in the Bundesliga, if they didn't see there was some part of Kolasinac's game that had problems, and I think that was his defensive abilities. But Tierney's injured. Kolasinac has taken this opportunity with open arms, and he's performing excellently. Going forward in the first half, we went down the left every single time. But what he does, his pace for his size, tell me some other left backs, right back at his size with his pace. That is the sort of potential he has. His crossing is inconsistent, but he was linking up very well with our centre backs. But the most important thing is that he was making those forward runs. And as I've said in other videos, Arteta loves to play wing backs, get the wing backs involved, particularly Kolasinac. And Kolasinac, for me, he had a solid performance. I'd give him a 7.5 for Kolasinac. Actually, I'd give him a 7. I still think he could do a lot more with his crossing. He could probably drive into the box a bit more with the ball. I would like to see that. A little bit more intent when he has the ball. I'll give him a 7. Socrates didn't really put a foot wrong. Didn't really do much either. The goal wasn't his fault. He made a good goal line clearance. He won his headers. I think what Socrates really improved on this game was playing out the back. A lot of Arsenal fans, including myself, have stressed that Socrates is not a ball-playing centre-back. Well, he may not be, but he's certainly improving. And he looked a lot more comfortable today. And I think as a team, generally speaking, the confidence levels are very high. Arteta has allowed this team to believe in themselves, which therefore allows us as a unit to play out the back a lot better, a lot more efficiently. So for me, Socrates didn't do badly at all. Didn't really do much. I'll give him a 6.5. 6.5 for 6.5 for Socrates. David Luiz. Now this is an interesting one, is that David Luiz is like a playmaker now. He always had that ability to play long balls, but the way we set up, particularly in the first half, Torreira screens the defense. So as Torreira's screening the defense, you lose a player in the midfield, right? Xhaka is going from wing to link up with each player. So you then sort of lose another one in that midfield. Yes, Xhaka's there to spray the balls, but at the same time, he's linking up with the wingers. He likes to get involved as well with the wing backs, with Pepe, with Aubameyang, who was playing out wide. So David Luiz seems to come in that middle role, and the way he was spraying the balls was phenomenal. I have barely seen that guy put a foot wrong when it comes to playing long balls, because that first half, he was finding Kolasinac out wide every single time. Every single time. Kolasinac or Aubameyang, that left side for us is deadly. Seriously, that left side is deadly for us. He was finding him every single time. He makes it look easy. Minimal effort. He barely looks up. He knows where the players are positioned, and he plays that ball directly to the feet. And whereas when he was doing it under Emery, he was doing it probably at the more inconvenient times, wasn't really picking the right times to play those balls. But the way that we're able to mix up, playing it short from wide to wide and then looking for that ball through the middle to break the lines, mixing that up with David Luiz's long balls, which Xhaka was doing as well, I'll get to that in a minute, makes us very hard and very unpredictable on the ball, which adds another element to our game going forward. So David Luiz, I'm going to give. Defensively, he was pretty good as well. I didn't really put a foot wrong. He was a lot more calm, especially in our box. I'll give David Luiz a 7. I'll give David Luiz a 7 today. Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Whew. That boy put in probably his best performance at right back I've seen this season. First half, he was quiet. Saying that, Palace didn't really look to go down the right-hand side in the first half. I mean, it's either that they couldn't get the ball to Zaha because we were suffocating him in the midfield, which we were, or it's because Maitland-Niles kept it quiet. I think it was probably a bit of both. However, once Zaha got in the game more in the second half, that's when Maitland-Niles had to step up, and didn't he just? Everyone loves to talk a big game about Zaha, how he can beat the man. He's always get past the first player. I barely saw it. I think Maitland-Niles kept him completely quiet. The amount of effort that Maitland-Niles was putting in as well, the amount of running he was doing, up and down, up and down. Yes, Maitland-Niles maybe going forward this game wasn't overly effective, but when you have Nicolas Pepe on that wing, how far forward does he really need to get? We shouldn't have to rely on him to be one of our more attacking players, particularly in the position that we are defensively as a club. It's more important that he gets his defensive duties right, and didn't he get it right today? He is a player that looks far more confident under Mikel Arteta. Another player that looks more confident under him. It's tough. I would have given Torreira man of the match if he's played out the whole game and if he kept up his first half. But for me, Maitland-Niles is one of the players that I'm going to give man of the match to, and I have another one. I'll get to him shortly. Maitland-Niles, I'll give a 8. I don't think anyone deserves over an 8 today. Maitland-Niles did what he had to do, plus more. I'll give him an 8. Lucas Torreira. Again, as I said, by far man of the match in the first half, in my opinion. Screening the defense beautifully. He got injured. For his first half performance, I will give him an 8, but that's just for his first half. As I said, we're a different side with his screening the defense. 8 for me, but again, didn't play the full game. Granit Xhaka. A player that I so desperately wanted out after the Crystal Palace saga at home. Has been almost flawless under Arteta. He's running forward with the ball. He doesn't get caught in possession now with his back to our defenders. He's looking forward. He's playing the long pass and getting it 99% of the time. He's winning tackles and he's showing urgency. All the things that Xhaka was not doing under Emery, under Wenger, he is now doing. The way, and you know what, that whole captaincy saga thing, I wanted him out. I've said it so many times. It was so disrespectful, but fair play to Granit Xhaka for coming back like he has and showing such a strong mentality when the whole fan base was virtually against him. We have a huge fan base. He's come back and he was man of the match. Him and Ainsley Maitland-Niles, 2 players that have been bang average this season, were brilliant. Were absolutely brilliant. Well, brilliant maybe getting too carried away. But at least very, very, very solid. Very solid. He was linking up with the attack. He was running. He was winning so many tackles. Now, Xhaka, one thing that hasn't really changed from his game is that Xhaka still gives away so many fouls. But the timing of when he's making these fouls now is a lot more justified. Not just fouling for the sake of it, but he's fouling when Crystal Palace or whoever the opposition is look threatening. He has that awareness. And finally, we are seeing something from Xhaka. I'm not going to get carried away. I'm not. Because he's let me down so many times. But how he's been under Arteta has been fantastic, and he shows a lot of leadership qualities. I didn't want him as captain, but fair play, he has leadership qualities. He was breaking up the play. He was playing as a defensive midfielder at times when Guendouzi was struggling. Oh, I'm going to give him an 8. Maybe an 8.5, but I think probably no one really deserves over an 8. I'll give him an 8. Mesut Ozil. Sort of back to the same old Ozil, isn't it? Everyone thinks there was some sort of resurgence. First half, 30 minutes, I liked how deep he was coming back to sort of... It's nice to see how our midfield is moving around. They're a lot more positionally aware going forward as well, because the three in the midfield seem to rotate in some respects, particularly Xhaka and Ozil. Ozil would come short sometimes, and he'd link with our midfield, or he would stay up and link more so with Lacazette and Aubameyang. And that's exactly what happened with the goal. He was there, he linked up with Lacazette, played it off, Lacazette played it through to Aubameyang, goal. But he ghosted the rest of the game. He ghosted it. So, yeah, for me, Ozil was quiet, virtually non-existent second half, hence why he got taken off. I will give him props for his work rate. Work rate is the bare minimum, though, at the same time, so I can't really give him a high rating based on a work rate, but that is improved out of sight. And for Arteta to make Ozil work off the ball is a credit to him, because Wenger couldn't, and neither could Emery. So, fair play. Ozil, for me, 5.5. 5.5. I'll give Ozil a 5.5. Not his best performance. With Ceballos coming back soon, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Will he come in for Ozil? Only time will tell. Pepe. I'm going to have to say, probably worst player on the field for us. His intent is good. I don't mind him taking on the player every time, because that's his strength. I was saying it to people I was watching the game with, that I don't mind if he just takes on players, because I know once he fully hits his potential in the Premier League, hits that level of confidence, that swagger, that confidence that he needs to get to the next level, I don't think we'll be having these conversations about Nicolas Pepe. What disappointed me about him today is when Aubameyang got sent off, he didn't take the game by the scruff of the neck. Yes, we did. We had 10 men. Granted. We had 10 men, but he didn't really push throughout the game. He tried to take a few people on, but he didn't really come back deep. He gave the ball away a few times. He didn't really do much for me. I'm sorry. Pepe, it wasn't one of his best performances. I'm still patient with him. I'm not going to go all fucking mental again because he's playing poorly. He's 72 million. Fuck the price for a second. It's half a season. Chill. He's 24. Chill. We've seen potential in what he's done. Everyone just chill. But he's a 5. 5 out of 10. Again, not his best. Aubameyang, for when he was on the field, it's hard for him out left. I've said before, out left is not his position. It's not a natural position for him. His goal came through the middle. I don't think Aubameyang's actually a great dribbler. He's quick, and when I saw him at Dortmund, he was probably a bit better of a dribbler when he had more pace, but he's not really one of those tricky players. He's sort of like a one-trick pony. He waits for the defender to commit, then he tries to use his speed to get past, and he's not really one of those tricky players. So out wide, he doesn't really cross the ball great either. Excuse me. So for me, it's not really his position. However, his work rate was good. One chance, he had one goal. That's another criticism probably about our games. We didn't create enough chances in the first half. I'd probably just give... and the sending off, I can't... Look, he probably maybe shouldn't have dived in, but I can't really blame him. I'm going to give him a 6. 6. Aubameyang a 6. Didn't really do much else apart from the goal. The opposite of Aubameyang, however, is that He didn't score, but he did everything else off the ball, and that's Alexander Lacazette. Now, I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans get a bit triggered that Lacazette hasn't scored in X amount of games. I don't know the amount. It's been a while, though. Thought it was maybe close to 8 games. Could be wrong. But for me, it looks like he's playing a different role under Arteta. I said in my previous video, go check that out if you haven't checked it out. The centre forward role's changed. Lacazette is playing in that more link up centre forward position. I haven't seen a player that size hold the ball up that well. He allows our wingers into play. He links up with Ozil, which that's how we scored the goal. But for me, Lacazette, although it didn't go that well for him up top in regards to goal scoring chances, you could argue he could have scored that goal in the second half where Goita made a great save. For me, his work rate and everything else he was doing, this guy was absolutely gassed in the 55th minute. Probably says something about our fitness, but whatever. He was gassed. But the way he just kept going, he kept running, he kept pressing. And this is something I wanted to see for so long. Press. Just press in the final third. Watch what happens. The amount of times that Palace just kicked it out. Kicked it out wide every time because we pressed. How long were we asking to press? Lacazette is finally doing it. Not just Lacazette. Ozil was doing it. Pepe was doing it. Aubameyang was doing it. But he pressed, and it makes us suffocate teams because we have Torreira screening if they get through the press, and then we've got 3 people up top that are pressing. But Lacazette was leading it. Lacazette, for me, is getting a 7.5. Not 7, he gets a bit more than a 7, 7.5, mainly to do with the work off the ball and his link up. 7.5, 7, either one of them, I can't really decide. But that's what I would give him. I think he really does need a goal, though. He really, truly needs one so he can go up to that next level. Who have I missed? I said Pepe. I said Ozil. I said Aubameyang. I said Lacazette. Let's talk about Matteo Guendouzi off the bench. Had a half. When he came on, our midfield looked more open. I think maybe looking at another defensive midfield in the future might be something, because I'm not sure what Guendouzi's role is. He's more of that deep-lying playmaker. Defensively, he can be good, but his concentration is what lets him down. In the first 15, his positionally, again, he was all over the place. But he came strong in the second half, made a few crucial tackles, but didn't really take the game like the scruff of the neck like he has in other games. So, yeah, I think Guendouzi for me gets like a 6. Gets a 6. Martinelli didn't really go for him. He was intentful. He tried to make something happen, but just like a 5 for me. Didn't really do overly much. But big chance for Martinelli to make a name for himself as Aubameyang's out. I assume we will appeal for it because I think it's a 3-game ban for a straight red. I think Aubameyang will only get like 2 games or whatever. But Martinelli, this is his opportunity. And this is where Lacazette needs to step up as well, because our main, if not at times only goal scorer, is now out. So we need to make it happen. But Martinelli, I have a lot of time for that kid. He's one of the most talented kids I've seen come through at Arsenal in the last 10 years. I think he could be world-class already. And I'm not one of those people to blow the trumpet when it's early. I will say it's early, but with him, I do see something. And I think this is a big opportunity for him. And that's that. We're a work in progress. On the ball, we had really good signs in the first half. The first 30 minutes, we were moving it up side to side, opening up their midfield. That's how we got the goal, played the ball through, laid it off. Lacazette played it through. Aubameyang scores. Concentration, another key word in this review. Physically, we're not up to the level. Fitness-wise, David Luiz and Socrates said it in an interview the other day. Mentally, we're not there yet. Because we can control games when either we're in a comfortable position and we're focused, or when we conceded, we're like, oh shit, we better score. Let's play football again. We've got to start doing that the whole game. And that will come, I believe. Wasn't Arteta's biggest fan, but I'm giving him a chance. And I think that we, as a fan base, we all need to get behind the players and understand that we ain't going top 4 this year. This is a huge rebuild. This was a rebuild that wasn't done correctly under Emery, that Arteta is now trying to do with a whole mentality change. So we need to get behind that. I'll take a point in the scheme of things with the red card. Second half, we showed a lot of grit, determination. I didn't mention that before, but our determination and fight, we showed fight. When have we shown fight this season? When? Never. And that is another positive sign. So as a fan base, we need to get behind the boys. We need to get behind Arteta because I am seeing positivity. Anyway, thank you for watching my video today. I will be doing a video later of a transfer update if I see any relevant news. And please keep your eyes peeled for videos this week. I will be doing a video every day. So please, APFC, all things Arsenal, but not exclusively so. This has been a Palace vs Arsenal review. A work in progress. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.